This story all started not too long ago at a high school soccer game in Farmington, Missouri, when I sat next to two Venezuelan immigrants. Soon after that, I was producing a film I would have never in a million years guessed I would be making. I found myself dealing with painful truths, intense political emotions, and a film crew willing to risk imprisonment or death getting us footage. Historically, it's radical ideas that change our world for the better. The Declaration of Independence, the abolition of slavery, women's suffrage, all began as radical ideas. Today, Hollywood, the mainstream media, universities, social media, and big tech, and many politicians are now clamoring for socialism. So why does the most freest, most successful country on earth want socialism? Is socialism a radical idea? As a constitutional republic, the U.S. hinges on free enterprise and competition. It produces an abundance of goods, which enables high taxation on businesses and the upper classes. With this tax revenue, our government provides the middle class and lower classes with education, healthcare, security, infrastructure, and recreation, while at the same time ensuring liberty and freedom for all. But what really happens when you go from a constitutional republic to a democracy, then to socialism? My newfound Venezuelan friends know too well how that all plays out.
I'm from Venezuela, all my family from Venezuela, and we very like to get together as a family. You know, my brother and sister. We used to go all summer to my grandma home, and we meet with our cousins, and spend the summer with her, and she would take care of all the kids. It would be a house full of kids. I don't know how she did it, but she was able, and she was not wealthy. She was kind of poor, but she was able to provide for everybody there. And I remember my mom had to work, then we are off for school, then the best to do is to spend the time with grandma in summertime. Then, at that time, situation in Venezuela was start getting bad. Then I decided maybe I pursue for doing a residency here, though I didn't have any English at that time. But I met Rafael, and he said, well, we can do it. We can just start it. You will learn English. We'll start doing the steps to get to do all, to be able to do residency here.
Hola. Mira, estoy empezando la entrevista ahorita, ¿viste? Para que no me llamaras, porque, está aquí la... Entonces, yo te llamo apenas termine, ¿viste? Bye. All right. There is a chance, I think, I probably will not live to see it. I think there has been a tremendous impact in not only economy, cultural, socially, but I think the biggest problem that has happened and that has led to all of that is the morality. It's just, for a lot of people, life is it's less worth than money or than material things or than a political movement, okay? So I think when you get to that point, it takes generations and generations to get out of that. Kids are being taught to pray to Chavez, to a dictator. That's beyond, and I grew up in a different environment, but these kids grew up in that environment. That's all they know. So for that generation to completely go away, it's gonna take 2-3 more generations, and that's if we stop this process now. So that's why I don't think I'll ever get to see that. I hope my kids do. because it was a beautiful country. For me, there was no other reason to leave that or not to come back other than what happened. This socialism has destroyed it.
The United Socialist Party of Venezuela. When Hugo Chavez took office, he vowed to take care of Venezuela's long-forgotten poor and painted the rich and middle classes as evil. Since most everyone in Venezuela was the same color, Chavez was coached by Cuban leaders on how to best implement economic racism to get rid of intellectuals who were against his programs.
Started with a theory that capitalism is bad, a theory that private property and a division of labor is bad. One of the first things Hugo Chavez did was seize the land. He seized over 1,000 industrial enterprises.
There was this big movement to say that whoever was not with the government was what they call escuálido, so somebody that was not socialist. It was something, look, that's bad. You were not with the government, you didn't care about the people, we want you out of here.
Chavez claims that he is for the people, therefore, if you don't agree with him, you're an enemy of the people. Why? Why can't I just disagree with him but still be a Venezuelan like anybody else?
If you're somebody that went to the university and you're up against Chavez, you're a bad person. You probably should not be in this country.
It's America, love it or leave it. Well, I'm getting mighty tired of seeing hippies running wild and burning down the schools and stepping on the flag.
So you would be okay with restricting freedom of speech? You would be okay with restricting or increasing, creating actually, speech laws if that were voted on by the masses?
If the masses want it, absolutely.
Really?
If the masses, and again, I'm wanting legitimate masses, what the bulk of the people in the country want. Yes, I absolutely would. And I'm going to use, I'm actually going to use conservative logic for a second. And conservatives frequently say, if you don't like it, leave.
So I think if you're just saying that all laws should just be determined by mob rule, particularly freedom of speech, I think it's really a scary thought. And I disagree with you. I'm not okay with anyone removing your rights at all. I'm not okay with anyone stepping in and saying you don't have the right to believe what you believe or speak freely. But you're okay with someone walking in and telling someone what they can and can't say. That's terrifying.
She was the same. She would ask him all the time, when you coming back? She stayed too long there. Then she had a stroke and she died. I couldn't. She always called me because I was the doctor and the family asked me what we could do. Then I didn't went back until 7 years after, just because I didn't want to take a chance that I had problem with my visa. When I came back to Venezuela, I couldn't recognize her. I said, what's going on? Everything was so different, like in a bad way. Everything was more stressful, sad. Don't go over there, be careful. Somebody stop, then you have to hide, or be careful with when the traffic light is red. Just go, don't stop. If you see a police to stop you, don't stop. Like I was like, oh my goodness. Then I didn't know what to do. I was preferring to stay home. I didn't want to go outside. I was afraid to go outside.
Bread, medicine, toilet paper. These are just some of the basic necessities Venezuelans are struggling to find. The falling global oil prices have hit the country hard. Public services are disappearing one after the other.
Venezuela is in a state of emergency right now. Its currency has been devalued 92% since the last 2 years alone.
Venezuela has the world's largest inflation rate, the IMF expecting it to reach 700%.
I left home at 4 in the morning. I went to several places for nothing. All I could buy is a pack of maize flour, no more.
This is what buying food looks like in Venezuela. Waiting for hours, hoping that by the time one hands in their allotted number, there'll still be food left.
This is the greatest sadness because I didn't know this Venezuela several years ago. For us, this is something new, something unbelievable, unacceptable. It has no other name but catastrophic.
You feel like, oh, I'm missing this. But then you see the bad thing. But you see your family. Then it's like, it's a feeling like nobody could understand that anymore.
Last week, we reported on a rare, widespread blackout in Venezuela that added to the country's economic and political problems. Electricity went out in 19 of Venezuela's 23 states. Another issue all this created was a water shortage.
The blackout triggered a water crisis so severe, there was a degrading scramble for water, any water, even dirty water, whatever the drainage pipes and the stream could offer up.
Like Chavez, Maduro has also rigged the economy to keep himself in power, but this time it's not benefiting the poor. Maduro set the government exchange rate at 10 bolívares per US dollar, but only his friends and allies have access to this rate. Regular Venezuelans pay 60,000 bolívares per dollar. Venezuelans are paid in bolívar but must convert to dollars to buy anything in their country. The military got complete control of the food supply in 2016 and is reportedly profiting off the currency crisis. They import food at Maduro's special currency rate of 10 bolívares per US dollar and sell the food on the black market for 20,000 bolívares per US dollar, a massive profit. So for the military generals and the political allies of Maduro, the crisis has offered a lucrative opportunity which helps Maduro stay in power and has little chance of ever changing.
It's just give me chills because this is my country now. And the last thing I want is to happen the same thing that happened in Venezuela, because we know that doesn't work. When Chavez, he had a lot of money. The oil barrel was like $100 more. Then it's a lot of money and promised that he's going to build things. Venezuela is going to be a socialist. We're going to have everything. They promised all the things that socialist, everything going to equal. We are going to have the money, but he's using a way for it's just corruption. Socialist for me is just go together with corruption. It's not working. It will never work.
Well, in the United States, I am studying in the high school of Farmington. And well, I am in the last year, in the senior year, and I'm trying to get graduated from the high school. I am trying to stay here, but too I would like to go Venezuela because I have all my family there and I have my friends, and that make a really big difference. Right now, like not all the city, like the capital city in Caracas, has light. So Monday you don't have light for 4 hours. Thursday the same, and all the week is the same. Per day it's like 4 or 3 hours without light. But the water, it's, for example, it's only like 1 hour in the morning, and 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. Between that hour you have water, and in the night probably like half an hour or only an hour, or maybe you don't get water that day. But that is not the problem right now. The problem right now is everything is too expensive. For example, the minimum paid for a worker, if you convert the bolivares in dollars, it's only $2 in 1 month. So only in one pack of cheese and I don't know, and bread, you spend all your salary of the month. So that is the problem right now. Everything is too expensive for the people. The grocery stores here are like perfect because you have everything. You can go in any grocery store and you can find whatever you want for your house, for the chicken, for the perfect example. It's like the big stores like Walmart or Publix or I don't know, Walgreens. You can find whatever you want there.
It was hard and never was easy though, but it was a lot of unknown what's going to happen, but we never stopped working hard. We start all the little steps. Let's do one thing at a time. Sometimes when you have a goal and you want to achieve that goal, you think it's going to be right away. No, you have a goal, but to get there always is hard. It's not easy. You have to work hard. Then we decide, yes, we can do this. We saw that what's going in Venezuela was not good, and we decided we can try. Sometimes we will push it down. We have obstacles, and then we have to stand up and then do it again. It didn't happen. It happened in how many years? Like many years.
Our effort was somehow, in one way or another, appreciated by somebody that sees that you wanted more, that you want to afford something, and you wanted to give, but also receive. And so many doors were shut, but so many other opens in this country that it was amazing.
It really
to look back is to say we worked for this, and the doors will open depending on your effort. And I admire that, and I love so much about this country.
Yeah. We came here, we didn't have phone, we didn't have car. We learned about the transportation system here. It was pretty good in Philadelphia. We were lucky about that. Then we learned about the $1 menu McDonald's. That was our favorite thing to eat every day. That was saving for us. And then we have our first apartment was something
200 square feet.
200 square feet, and we were so happy to have that.
The United States offers by far,
Good
hands
education.
down, the best postgraduate education for doctors. And we look at that as wow, I wish I could one day get that. And our effort and our studies make us get there. So professionally, it's like we got the education that we wanted. We're able to take care of patients like to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
And we owe that everything to our effort, but to a country that was able to offer that to us. I know it firsthand. I'm so thankful for this country, for everything it's got given us. He just gave us a tool to fight and to work and to study and to get better. And I felt like we decided to stop when we wanted to. And when I mean decided to stop is growing. You build your own future as far as you want to go. So that to me is the American dream. So in order to stay in the United States, they give you so many years to get your training done, which I did, 7 years to finish my training. And then after that, the options or the alternatives were you go back to your country for 2 years before getting back to the United States, or you can go to a rural area and serve the country on a rural area. And that's what we did. We came over to Farmington. We interviewed in a few places in the United States, and we fell in love with this town. And our deal was to come in for 3 years only, and 3 years became 4, then 5, then we have our kids here, and we just love the lifestyle. We love how we can really help our patients here. We do feel that we make an impact in this town, and we're very grateful for it. Yeah.
Well, for me, the difference between socialists and capitalists, it's like socialists, it's like everyone in the society gets the same money, the same things, and don't matter if one work 8 hours and other guy doesn't work or don't work any hour. And the socialism, it's like, okay, you will have the same than the poor guy or the people who doesn't do anything or who doesn't study or who doesn't work or anything. And the capitalist, it's more like, okay, do you want good things and money and everything you want? Okay, you need to work hard and do it. You need to work all the week or in the weekends and have it, because if you don't work, you don't get the money. But in the socialists, like the people and the government try to give everything to the people, and they start thinking like, okay, if they give me this free, I don't need to work or I don't need to study. And I think that it's the difference between capitalists and socialists.
I'm not sure why there's people that support socialism. They think it's something good because you're gonna have everything for free, or there's gonna be, you know, some equality. But that's not true. That's not true. The truth is, people in the government, they're gonna be really rich and powerful, and the people is gonna be poor. So many people keep voting for them because they have another message, and that the rich people are bad and they don't want you, and we're gonna make the rich people poor, you know, and it's a powerful message. Pretty normal to see people digging in the trash can for food, and I used to see that almost every day, whole families, you know, and that was heartbreaking because you can see the mother, father, and the kids digging in the trash can to eat because they can't afford. But I think definitely something's going on here because there's so many groups right now, people who support Black Life and All Life and Blue Life and everything, and it's, you know, I don't know, it feels like it's something like that, and that it could happen something like in Venezuela, you know, if this is a great country and socialists can destroy it fast, really fast.
We're giving to our kids a place safe to live. Then we have a nice place where we can build memories. We can wake up and we feel safe, and we like the place we built for our kids. It was more people welcoming us, you know, very helping us, open the arms to us. That people really pointing like you are foreign, why are you here? You know, there is some, of course there is. I'm not saying not, but I don't think that's been affecting us here in this country at all. We just put that in the back, like okay, that happened, and we move on, and we have more people open the arms to us, like this country, and we feel more comfortable with that.
There's so many more good things.
There are a lot of good people.
Acceptance that we can easily push that aside.
I mean, look over the last 4 years, how the countless videos of you seeing people being just attacked for wearing a MAGA hat or wearing a MAGA shirt. I mean, just I mean, assaulted physically. I mean, beat up. You know why they got beat up? Because of people like you. You labeled them as white supremacists. Nancy Pelosi said the Red MAGA hat, it was the new KKK. Yeah, ain't that instigating violence against Trump supporters? I mean, there's countless videos of them getting beat up just for wearing a hat.
In March of 2019, I decided to come into the United States to stay here together with my family, and I request asylum, political asylum.
Political asylum. When a person is frightened to live in their own country due to political persecution, they can travel to another country and request permission to live in the new country under the protection of political asylum.
He was kidnapped 2 days before my kids born. The baby moved, probably died if the doctor don't make a C-section with me. That is the situation in my country. You can die for everything in whatever place, in whatever situation. You are not safe in any place. Your life can change in a moment. He was a military. His life, because the person who kidnapped him don't find his army credential card in his wallet. He was in the army. He know the person who kidnapped him was police person. When I married to him, I feel really good. My husband was in the army. He protect me. We are safe. My kids can born with a good person in my house. But now everything was military and pilot person, and the government tried to find person like him, not close to the government, and when the government need a person for a person que sea culpable de algún delito.
Patsy, a person who is taken advantage of or made a scapegoat by being cheated or blamed for something they didn't do.
Oh, I need to find some person. Oh, you. Because, yes, visit his home or make something in his home, paper or gums or something like this person tried to kill the president. And now for our family, he's a risk. It's difficult life in the Venezuela because he was in the army, he is pilot. The government think he don't agree with the government and is a good person for culparlo de algo malo. You feel you are not safe in any place. You are a lone person in our country. We don't have rules. Only the rule is for the government. He like go kill you. He like make bring to you to the jail, destroy your life. He can make. You know the news about how the government killed the person in the street because the person don't like the government in front to you, in front to every person watch the television and nothing happened. And you say, how can I live in this country? How can I live with my kids in there? I don't feel safe. I moved to here because I be really crazy because I don't have person for protect to him. I can call the police because the police is the person who kidnapped my kids or who killed my family. If you are close to the government, nothing happens with you. You are free. You can destroy, you can make whatever you like it because you are close to the government. The government control the food, control the medicines, control everything in my country. Everything. Because it's the form, how can I change the mind to the person in my country?
All depend of the government. All people depend of the government.
Everything depends to the government.
If you don't have the relation with the government, you don't obtain the food, you don't obtain the medicine, you don't have nothing.
Don't have nothing, you don't have life.
Other thing was the government when made the collective group.
Collectivos. Just like Nazi Germany's brown shirts, the collectivos are leftist Venezuelan community organizers who support President Maduro by doing his dirty work of killing and terrorizing those who disagree with his socialist regime.
Nosotros estamos con nuestro presidente.
Colectivos started out as neighborhood communes, some of them armed, that got support from the government of Hugo Chavez. As Venezuela has descended into chaos under Maduro, he's relied on them more and more to work as the government's strong arm, intimidating and even killing members of the opposition.
A nosotros nos dan un curso, nos llevan un mes para el monte, ahí nos enseñan cómo es la rutina, cómo es la vaina. En un momento nos entrenan con el un mes, 2 meses, después nos sueltan a la calle. Lo que nosotros nos dan, ahorita nos están dando 2 o 9.
¿Ya has matado?
Me toca hacerlo, obligado, así no lo quiera.
Colectivos are pretty much any civilian that forms part of this organized crime, if I would, but it's an organization where they know and they serve the government. They're heavily armed and they're just in there to do the dirty work of the government. So when there is demonstrations from the opposition, they will come around, they rattle off people, they're on their bikes, they're on their guns, their firearms. We are terrified of them.
You cannot go in the street and walk with your phone or with a nice shoes or with an iPad or something like that, and because you are in danger, you can get stolen or someone can see you and they say, oh, we need to watch this guy for where he's going, and they follow to your house and probably try to get out in your house and sequester you and something like that. It's really crazy, and the violence is really high in Venezuela. That's true. When you come here and live here, it's really a different. You change your mentality and you stay tranquil and relax every time. You don't have big problems here like water, electricity, insecurity. You live like a normal life. That is the truth. I can fight for the freedom, but not with violence, not with protest. And if I go back, I will try to do everything for freedom. And if I cannot change everything, or I cannot change any of the situation of the country, well, I would like to go back to Venezuela, study my university, get graduated of the university, and try to live in another country, and try to get out all my family of Venezuela, and they go with me or something like that with my 2 brothers or anything for the best of my family. Well, I would like, the plan for me if I stay in the United States, it's try to get a scholarship in some college or a university, and a scholarship for soccer, because I have been playing soccer since I have 6 years old. And well, I would like to keep playing soccer, and if I can keep playing soccer and study here in the United States, that would be an incredible plan for me. Well, I would like to, in college, if I get a college here or in the United States or in Venezuela, I would like to study engineering chemistry or civic engineering. I would like to build buildings, or I don't know, try to find out a new chemical process for a new company or something like that.
I grew up in Venezuela, became a teacher over there. My mother opened a school, and my sister and I, we both learned to be teachers before we even have age to go to college. My husband is from this area. I like Farmington because it's a small town. It's not too busy. People is really nice. I come from a city life. I think Farmington have everything that we need, and if we need something else, we are not too far away from the city. I opened the school here in Farmington, and so far I have been blessed with really nice students and people, and I feel very well accepted by this community. Socialism for me is a form of government in which the brain or the ones who organize this or believe in this movement manipulate the minds of people, implement it in the population who were poor and uneducated. The government in Venezuela started taking the schools and the children and trying to manipulate their minds by installing these radios and these songs and the things that the kids need to repeat, so they can start getting used to, I belong to the government, I'm gonna work for them, I'm gonna serve them. And for me, to manipulate the minds of people just to gain power over them, it's pretty, I feel it's no healthy, it's not clear, it's not a pure form of government. It's not even legal for me. Young people in the United States, unfortunately, are following socialism because they don't have much background knowledge about what socialism have done in other countries. They're gonna get a lot of things for free. They're gonna get a lot of benefits, but they never explain when or how, or in exchange of your own liberty. It sounds good at first, what socialism offers. When they find out it's really taking everything they have, I guess it's too late. You have to renounce to freedom, and yes, I have seen that happening to my own family. Media is supporting socialism, and young people, that's all they do. Whatever have more followers, and that's what I'm gonna follow. Whatever sounds more good for me, where can I get most of this or that? So that's what I'm gonna support. But it's dangerous. I feel it's dangerous that young people is trying to support them. And I feel something should be done to expose what socialism really does.
My life there, it was very important in me. I was working in the university, I was a teacher there, I am a doctor, I have my private practice, and I live everything. And I came here and I'm so happy here. The situation of health in Venezuela is very, very complicated. You know, the hospital doesn't have any medicine to take care of the patient. If you have to go to the private practice, it's so expensive. It's like you have to pay in dollars, and they don't earn in dollars there.
Hyperinflation has made medicines and food that were once subsidized unaffordable for Venezuelans poor, who, according to the United Nations, now make up nearly 90% of the population.
They didn't take care of the oil and the production. The production of oil went down. All the minerals are destroyed. The camp, the area are destroyed. For that reason, I don't know. I don't understand what the socialists are doing in Venezuela. I don't understand that. If you're gonna be rich, when the socialists try to keep and grow all that you have, not do that. The people die for anything, for problem, a health problem, for no security in the street. It's terrible. I don't know why. And when you see the people that is in the government, so rich.
The minimum wage in Venezuela is $2 a month. $2 a month. Can you believe that? That's the poor people. So the government give to them one thing they call CLAP.
CLAP, a small box of food flour, oil, rice, and beans provided to each person by the Venezuelan government. No meats, no eggs, no fresh fruits or vegetables, just enough to keep a single person alive.
A box. They have some flour, oil, and they give it to them and they keep it happy. But the people now realize that it's not enough.
Mira que trae la bolsa esta, ¿verdad? 4 arroz, 2 harinas, 2 kilos de pasta, 1 kilo de granos y un aceite, más nada. Esta tiene un poco de frascos vacíos que yo no sé para qué los tengo, pero tú sabes que los míos son acumuladores. Esta es la comida de la gata, un perolito ahí con...
I have my 2 cars, 1 car for her, 1 car for me, and everything was smooth, working normally, like here. But suddenly things changed since Cuban came over. They go to the administration, to the ID business. They get everything. They know who you are, where you work, what you have. And it's like being, you're not free. Right now, $1 is 32,000 bolivars. What can you buy? If you have a salary of $2, it means you have 65,000 bolivars. You can buy anything with that. 36 eggs is cost 50,000 bolivars.
I go every day, 2 hours, 1 hour, something like that.
If you don't have electricity, you don't have internet. If you don't have electricity, you don't have water. This is really, every day there is a manifestation of people asking for water, asking for gas, no gasoline, yes gas. And they have to cook with a wood log.
One of my sisters is living in beautiful building, and she have a wonderful place there. And now I'm talking with her, and she said, I have to run away because the water come. I have to fill up, to take water, to clean the bathroom. Or how come you can live like that?
Because we are coming for you and your rotten system. We are coming to dismantle this deeply oppressive, racist, sexist, violent, utterly bankrupt system of capitalism, this police state. We cannot and will not stop until we overthrow it and replace it with a world based instead on solidarity, genuine democracy, and equality, a socialist world.
And ultimately, it's not compassionate for a socialist to keep mouthing these platitudes that they care when history shows that socialism enslaves, impoverishes, and kills. And this is almost cliched. It's been pointed out so much recently, but in the 20th century alone, 100 million people were murdered or killed through socialist regimes. And people always, the real impassioned leftists always want to say, well, it's because the right people haven't tried it. No, you can't try it because it's flawed in theory. I mean, you can't succeed ultimately with socialism because everybody gets less. Government cannot create wealth. The left advocates results and outcomes and good intentions, but those good intentions don't lead to good outcomes. And by that I mean, socialism necessarily gravitates toward tyranny. So socialism amounts to the government taking control of the resources and redistributing wealth, high tax, all that kind of thing. And so it necessarily restricts our economic liberty. What people don't understand is there's an interconnection between economic liberty and political liberty, because when the government becomes bigger, to redistribute wealth, to increase taxes, to increase regulations, by definition, restricts liberty. There's this idea today, a dangerous idea on the left, the political left, which says that certain kind of speech is so unacceptable that we have to restrict it. Now, we don't see that on the right. Conservatives believe, for the most part, this is not without exception, but pretty much, that our ideas will succeed in the marketplace of ideas, and we're not fearful as long as we have the platforms to air our ideas unfettered. Now, I'm not talking about obscenity, but apart from that. But the danger now is that social media platforms have been controlled by autocratic liberals who subjectively define what is speech that is not protected. And they'll use their subjective political preferences to rationalize suppressing and censoring speech when it's nothing but they're opposed to it. And so they will restrict speech that doesn't advocate violence and allow speech that overtly does advocate violence from the left. It's the most bizarre. These people do not realize, they're so self-unaware of what they're ultimately doing.
Doublespeak, from the novel 1984, a form of propaganda which is designed to make lies sound truthful and truth sound bad, with the appearance of solidarity from all the masses.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin over the course of the night.
It's been a mostly peaceful protest, but then they chose to move in.
There are always folks on the fringes of protest that do the things that we don't like.
A few people who break a few windows and burn a few cars.
They just threw something on fire, Chris, a firecracker. Something's on fire.
But you cannot. The First Amendment was not drafted, was not crafted to prevent people's feelings from being hurt or to censor offensive speech. It was designed precisely to allow those things to be determined in a free market so that people could make decisions for themselves. So if we were only talking about controversial speech, there would be no purpose of the First Amendment. You wouldn't need protection. We're precisely talking about controversial political speech that needs protection. And what scares me is the tyrannical mindset of the liberal is that he can control your speech, he can control your day-to-day activity through these draconian environmental regulations.
Many are openly comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Yes. Now, it's pretty common. In fact, New York's Daily News ran this front page earlier this week, Trump is Hitler. And it doesn't get much worse than Trump is Hitler.
He's the first guy that respects the Constitution in the presidency. And just because his manner of speech or whatever, we don't appoint and confirm Supreme Court justices so they can politically legislate the right to life. We appoint them so that they can respect and observe and uphold the Constitution, under which people, democratically elected representatives, can legislatively protect the right to life, if that's what the public wants to do. We just want the government to work as the framers designed. And they also built in, not only did they build in these protections to slow down the process, even the amendment process is very difficult. They never envisioned the court to rewrite laws, because if they did, there wouldn't be any purpose for separation of powers. And this is an interesting thing about central planning. These so-called geniuses at the federal level, these elitists we now see trying to micromanage everything in the United States, they cannot possibly know. They can't be smart enough to equal the genius of the market, which is individuals, millions of transactions daily between buyers and sellers, between people engaging in free commerce, where each person, in theory and in reality, will not enter into that transaction unless it's mutually beneficial. I'm not going to pay you for that microphone unless I'm willing to pay the price you offer, and you're not going to sell it unless you're willing to accept that amount of money I'm paying you. And so that means you benefit and I benefit. And that we're just a little microcosm in a macroeconomy. You multiply that out by millions of people that happen each day. How could a federal government, a central government, central planners possibly know what goes on between people? They can't. And that's why there's inefficiencies. That's why it's impossible.
We will not rest until every person in this country is paid a living wage to lead a dignified life.
They talk about things that everybody wants, especially like if you're a parent. They talk about education for your kids, health care for your kids, the things that you want. And you know, if you're not really paying attention to how they're going to pay for it, or you know, the rest of that, it's easy to fall into that trap and say, my kids deserve this. And, you know, well, maybe the government should be responsible for helping me with that.
But today, we have been saturated, our society, with this propaganda about socialism. The left has glorified socialism from as far back as the Soviet Union, Venezuela, North Vietnam, communists, the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, Che Guevara in Argentina. They all, and Cuba, Castro, they always glorify these socialist systems without looking at the devastation they cause. And so the left wants to tell us that that we can move towards socialism and it'll help people. We've got the universities, academia, Hollywood, the media, all emphasizing socialism and all glorifying it. And so we've got a bunch of young kids who have fallen, and by the way, in the churches as well, with the social gospel, the misguided social gospel, the idea that Christians are compassionate, therefore the government ought to force redistribution of wealth. Well, conservatives aren't opposed to a safety net for the people that really need it. But we also understand that if you let the welfare state go unchecked, that you will disincentivize people from working, and it not only impoverishes the whole, but it destroys people's dignity.
When Benjamin Franklin exited the Constitutional Convention, he was asked by a woman, "Sir, what have you given us?" His immediate response was, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." Yet most Americans today have been persuaded that our nation's governmental system is a democracy and not a republic. The difference between these two is undeniable and massive. Many have been led to believe that the political spectrum places groups such as communists on the far left, fascists or dictators on the far right, and political moderates or centrists in the middle. However, a more accurate political spectrum will show government having zero power on the far right to having absolute 100% power on the far left. At the far right, there is anarchist or no government. The far left features total government under such labels as communism, socialism, Marxism, fascism, kingdoms, and dictatorships. In the middle of the political spectrum is our republic, a government limited to the role of protecting the rights of the people. That's where the Constitution of the United States is. So let's analyze the basic forms of government. Monarchies, dictatorships, or oligarchies ruled by a few, democracy and socialism ruled by the majority, republic ruled by the law, and anarchy, which is ruled by no one. And monarchy, dictatorships, or oligarchy, it's always a group that puts one of its members up front. A king has his council of nobles or earls, and every dictator has his bureaucrats or commissars, the men behind the scenes. Unfortunately, this is the world's most common form of government. At the other end, we find anarchy, which means without government. There are some who advocate anarchy, however, not because they want no government, but because they don't like what they have. They use anarchy as a tool for revolution or change. Anarchy is very much like a vacuum where something rushes in to fill it. These calculating anarchists work to break down the existing government with rioting, killing, looting, and terrorism. Tragically, the people living in such chaos often go to those best able to put an end to it and beg them to take over and restore order. And who is best able to put an end to the chaos? The very people who started it. The anarchists who created the problem then created government run by them. and oligarchy where they have total power. This is exactly what happened in Russia that led to Lenin taking total power, and in Germany where Hitler's brown shirts created the chaos that brought him to power in Venezuela with Maduro. The word democracy comes from two Greek words, demos meaning the people, and kratos meaning to rule. Democracy, therefore, means the rule of the people, majority rule. This of course sounds good, but suppose the majority decides to take away one's car, our home, our children. Obviously there has to be a limit. The flaw in democracy is that the majority isn't restrained. If more than half of the people, 51%, can be persuaded to want something in a democracy, they rule. What about a republic? Well, that comes from the Latin res, meaning thing, and publica, meaning public. It means the public thing, the law. A true republic is one where government is limited by law, leaving the people alone. America's founders had a clean slate to write on. They could have set up an oligarchy. In fact, there were some who wanted George Washington to be their king. But the founding fathers knew history, and they chose to give us the rule of law in a republic, not the mob rule of the majority in a democracy. Let's demonstrate the difference in the setting of the Old West. Consider a lynch mob in a democracy. 35 horseback riders chase one lone gunman. They catch him and they vote 35-1 to hang him. Democracy has triumphed and there's one less gunman to contend with. Now consider the same scenario in a republic. The 35 horsemen catch the gunman and vote 35-1 to hang him. But the sheriff arrives and he says, "You can't kill him. He has a right to a fair trial." So they take the gunman back to town. A jury of his peers is selected, and they hear the evidence and the defense, and they decide if he shall hang. Does a jury decide by majority rule? No, it has to be an unanimous agreement, or the accused goes free. This is the essence of a republic. The law is not subject to majority rule. It is subject only to the law. Many Americans would be surprised to learn that the word democracy does not appear in the Declaration of Independence or the U.S. Constitution, nor does it appear in any of the constitutions of the 50 states. Founders did everything they could to keep us from having a democracy. They had a good reason to look upon democracy with contempt, because they knew past democracies such as the early Greek and Roman majority rule systems produced some of the most unbearable governments imaginable. In every case, they went from democracy to mob rule to anarchy, finally ending in a dictatorship or oligarchy and a wrecked society. Now, just look at Cuba or Venezuela. They didn't learn from the past.
I never really kept up with politics. I kind of just like whatever someone told me, I'm like, okay, and just kind of went along with it. But I never went to other people and told them like how I thought about the government or anything, 'cause I didn't have a formulated opinion. I didn't have any research behind it or anything. So I kind of just kept to myself until like here recently I really started doing research on the government, and I really don't know what type of government we are. I think we're kind of in that weird limbo of chaos.
Well, some people think that, but have you heard of the term a constitutional republic?
I've heard of it, but I don't know the definition.
Okay, all right. You heard of a constitutional republic?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Something called a constitutional republic?
I've heard of it. Isn't it where isn't the Constitution like the paperwork thing that has all the like rules and stuff on it? I don't really know much about that either, if I'm being honest.
Constitutional republic?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
The smaller groups, the minorities in this country, are the ones that benefit most from a constitutional republic. Your LGBT communities, your minority communities, women's groups, all those smaller groups, smaller percentage of populist groups, those are all the ones that really truly benefit from a constitutional republic, because even though they're small in numbers, they have equal representation under the law.
I applied for asylum, political asylum. I live in Farmington in this moment with my family, my husband and 2 kids. I decided to move to the United States because I passed for bad situation. I was kidnapped with my 2 children in the front of my house, drove for 4 hours, give me the money, give me the all your things, your gold, call my husband for, I want money for your daughter. I killed your son. It's really hard. It's really hard, this situation.
It was a hard time.
Yeah. I protected my son and my daughter this, and these people, I pray, please God, now in this moment, I need to take care of my son, now, please.
Very scared and very
Don't want to speak.
very scared.
Don't worry. Don't cry.
Kidnapping. There's an estimated 50,000 kidnappings per year in Venezuela. Most go unreported because they are carried out by the police or the colectivos.
I was like, are they gonna kill us?
Yeah. For a long time, I find a house. I talk, oh, excuse me, I need a phone because I passed. The person in this city, oh, this is passed for 1 week. One person is kidnapped, and it's a routine. It's a routine, really? Yeah, what happened? Why in this city the people, oh no, because don't have the police station, don't have the protection. You love your house, you love your career. I don't want nothing. I only want to stay alive. Why are you crazy? Yes, I am crazy because I want my family. I need to stay alive. I need to recuperate my life. I need to stay good. In this moment, I lost hope.
They kidnap you or your family, and they win or they earn money for that. Okay? So you think, that friend happened too, the other friend happened too. So maybe you can think this happened to you too, and you're gonna have that experience, and that's it. That's what the most of the people think, and that's what I think the first time that happened. But after that, we have an experience that make you think different. You know, they are against you because you think different, and because she was working for Collect-A-Bot, and that's when you lost your peace, because you don't know how they gonna fight against you. I think we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be really, really good, because now we are here in this country that for me is the best country of the world, no matter how hard you have to work. But like I told you before, you have security.
Socialism is the way. Socialism is the future. Socialism is what sounds so good, and how the utopia of the government providing everything for you. The government only has resources that they take from you and me. And those resources are finite. And when they take all the money from you and they take it all away from the richest of the rich, they become the richest of the rich and the people who can control you. So the money runs out, the food runs out, the electric runs out, the gas, everything runs out. So it may sound good in the beginning, where we get everything handed to us by a government who pretends to be our protector. But in the end, the government becomes our enemy.
I do believe in the American dream. In the school where I work, every day we do the Pledge of Allegiance. We said, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So that means equal. Equal for everybody, equal opportunity for everybody, and liberty. Individuals are no value in socialism. I believe that America give opportunity to whoever wanted to work hard.
Economic racism. Most people in Venezuela are brown, so the state had to make the rich and middle class the thing to hate. You cannot unite a movement without something to hate. Envy is always a great vehicle to hate.
Are torturing them and killing them and just making their life difficult so they can continue having the power of the country and taking advantage of all the resources and all the money that Venezuela have is pretty much in the hands of everybody who serves the actual government over there.
We can't trust in anybody because you don't know how is the mind to another person. You don't know is the another person, your neighbor or somebody close to you, have information about your family and bring to the government. You can speak with another person close to you because you don't know who is that person. And my kids need learning about and go to the school and don't talk so much about family, about nothing.
But is you thinking different today, or you thinking different to the government, or you have some communication in your Facebook or your WhatsApp, or you send any message to what I don't agreement with this, and they know about this. This is the agreement with the government.
Up with your hands. You're a traitor. You're a thought criminal. You're a Eurasian spy. I'll shoot you. I'll vaporize you. I'll send you to the uranium mine.
Quieter now, Sabina, quieter. You can't blame us for being excited enough. Mrs. Harriman with the spies.
Traitor. Thought criminal.
I thought we could take her there and then go and have a drink.
Why have you got this desk so far away from the telescreen? It ought to be over there.
There's something in what she says, you know. She doesn't miss a thing.
I'll have to report you.
Nonsense, Selina, nonsense. Winston has nothing to hide. Have you, Winston? Oh, ready then? Yes, I'm ready.
6748 Smith W. Regulation 6040. Outer party members will always wear identification badges when going in public places. In Smith, don't forget again.
All right, I'm ready.
How you can protect your country and how you can say something if somebody close to you, the police, the army, the collective person have the guns, have whatever and kill you too fast and nothing happen. You see how the person change. Don't have nothing and for work with the government in the collective and the some
they have a lot of power.
Yeah, his life change. And another person, poor person say, I like that for me. I need a house, I need a car, I need a motorcycle, I need a power. My student, younger student, like say, oh, I love the government because the government give me a gun, or the government help me. My father have house, my father have gun, my father is that person. See, how you can teach to kids another situation, how you can teach the kids that is no wrong, that is no good, that is bad. Your father now is a killer person, and they go and the child think no, that is a good person.
It's a better.
It's better, have power, use a gun. It's not like that the kids don't like be a police, don't like be an army, like be a collective person. Like be that kind of person, be rich fast, have power too fast, and
They
for
have
kid
money, they
person,
have food,
nothing
they have
happen with
medicine.
you. Nothing happen with you. And it's in this place somebody know, he worked for the collective, he worked for the government. Nothing happened with you and your family. We lost our house, our car, my profession and his profession, everything. We lost that for protect my kids.
Gun control. Every socialist, Marxist, communist nation begins with confiscating and banning the people's right to own firearms. Simply put, it's way easier to control unarmed people.
So when they control this media, when they control your guns, because they will take them away, they will force you to turn them in, and you say, oh, I won't turn in my gun, they'll have to come get it. It'll be easier than that. And here's what happens. You want to eat, right? You want electricity in your house, right? You want access to your bank accounts, right? The government has the power to stop all that.
With the use of Germany's newfound democracy and majority vote in 1920, the National Socialist Germans Workers' Party, our Nazi party, was formed. This new total government socialist party implemented a 25-point platform of gun control, especially for Jews and persons against the party, employment for all, increased workers' wages and benefits, free education, abundant public work schemes, free daycare, and free health care, except for Jews and persons against the party, of course. It all sounded so great to a disgruntled populace. In 1933, Hitler and the Nazi Socialist Party took power. Germany became a one-party state. New parties were made illegal. Most civil liberties were rescinded, including rights of assembly and free speech. All civilian organizations, teachers, professors, judges, and government officials were replaced with Nazi party members, and Jews were stripped of all their rights. They disarmed their political enemies and the Jews, of course, delivering a helpless population to their tender mercies. They took control of all aspects of cultural life, such as film, radio, newspapers, fine art, music, theater, and literature. It was one busy year for the Nazis. Its slogan was "None shall starve or freeze." Ironically, that's just what would happen a few years later. The Nazis painted the Jews as the 1% rich who were evil, racist, thieves, and parasites. Soon the Nazis began to enslave and exterminate Jews, conservatives, communists, the elderly, individuals with disabilities, business owners, property owners, artists, doctors, professors, and anyone in opposition to the party. It took the United Kingdom, the United States, all their allies, and millions of lives to restore Germany to a free state.
Should I stay and fight for my country? Should I leave? Can I leave? Can I make it out there in a different world? Is there something better? So Guillermo, we decided to help him, and he's living with us this year. He left his home, his parents, to live with us here in Farmington. He's in high school. He's a wonderful kid. He's very intelligent. People like him. He's very likable. He's smart. He's a very good soccer player, and his plans was to be an engineer, where he was going to attend the university over there in Venezuela, where he had a spot reserved that he earned. But the question is it something that is going to be good for him? So right now he's going through high school, where he's having a wondering feeling, and he's having second thoughts on what he's going to do with his life. He's looking at college life here as something that will be more bring more substance of his life in the future, even though he doesn't know what career he can choose or he can go to. He's so excited about looking forward to getting a spot or at least interviewing or touring. So it's interesting to see this because we kind of somehow went through that phase at some point 18 years ago, 19 years ago. So we're trying to support him and help him, and he have to make his decision, and hopefully his decision will be supported by the situation, and he can go with his life, make the next step, okay? So he's a good kid. He deserves better.
It's interesting because Venezuela is the best example of the failure of socialism in real time the last 20 years. Venezuela was by far the wealthiest country in Latin America, anywhere south of the Rio Grande, until Hugo Chavez came in on a socialist platform. Let's rip off the rich. He was a demagogue.
Demagogue, a political leader who uses racism, sexism, wealth indifferences, and false claims to gain power by pitting some against others, whipping up the passions of the mob, and shutting down reasonable debate.
At first he started out with soft despotism, then it became tougher and tougher and tougher version of a police state, which socialism always devolves into. And you had an economy 20 years ago, a gross domestic product of Venezuela that was $32 billion. In the most recent year it was measured, 2018, it is now $9 billion. That's the massive destruction of wealth. People are eating out of garbage cans in Venezuela. The hospitals have closed. The stores aren't providing basics like bread, milk, eggs, and fruits and vegetables. The essence of socialism is government planning. It empowers people in government to command everyone else in society and to command the allocation of resources. It doesn't work. And Venezuela has been an unfolding catastrophe since they adopted socialism. Hugo Chavez died and he was replaced by an equally bad despot.
Despot, a ruler or other person who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way.
Tyrant named Maduro, and millions of Venezuelans are fleeing on foot to Colombia, to other countries, to escape this socialist paradise that Hugo Chavez and Maduro have brought to this once wealthy country. You know, Venezuela was rolling in wealth from oil. It's an oil and resource-rich country. And the destruction of wealth for all, except the ruling clique, has proceeded under socialism. But Hugo Chavez's family and his cronies have grown wealthy by the billions. And that also goes on under all socialist regimes, where whoever's in power can seize the wealth for themselves and enjoy great wealth and privilege. Well, the thing about socialism that's so misleading is it always sounds so good. Who couldn't like all this free stuff, right? You trade all this free stuff for your freedoms in every sphere of your life that matters. The socialist planners who say, let's empower government to plan our lives for us and provide us with all these free things, what they miss is they don't understand that they're suffering from a fatal conceit. And the fatal conceit is that these socialist planners think they know more than free individuals operating in the marketplace. In voluntary exchange with each other that's based on morality, that's based on my trusting the person I'm buying a good or a service from, and that person trusting me to pay for that good or service. Beyond that, we have the testimony of the greatest statesman of the last century, Sir Winston Churchill, who had some wonderful quotes about socialism and the failure of socialism. Socialism is the philosophy of failure, Churchill said, the creed of ignorance and the gospel of envy. That is, the socialists incite us to envy against our neighbors, against our fellow men. When a voluntary marketplace, the free society, encourages us all to work hard, to save, to invest, to support our families on our own, and to get ahead. And the example of those who have become rich, Abraham Lincoln taught, is a good example for the rest of us to strive for in a free society. You can vote your way into socialism, as the Venezuelans did, but you have to shoot your way out. And they're shooting their way out of socialism now with riots in the streets and the police who are putting down those rioters and those citizens who are just asking for the freedom they once had.
Oye, que esto lo sepa todo el mundo, nos estamos muriendo de hambre, los venezolanos. Esto no es posible, estamos en una dictadura, pero disfrazada. Todos son testigos, hay gente que no podemos hablar. ¿Por qué? Porque nos tienen amordazados. Si tú hablas, mandan a los colectivos a que te agredan, a que te maten.
See, being a doctor, seeing those hospitals where we grew up, the people that go to those hospitals is the common people. It's not the people that force a private insurance. And now that we all are leaving, those hospitals there's no doctors to take care of them. You know, I still have two friends of my 220 graduates class from medical school. I only have two friends that's still there, and they tell me there's nothing. I mean, it's just emptiness through those hallways, and we still have to take care of the same amount of people, or probably more. And there's no gauze, there's just nothing. I mean, it's like a war zone when you go to the hospital. So that's what I mean. You know, they made it look like you are one of the bad guys because you're a doctor and you don't want Chavez to win, you don't want this process to go, but yet we are the ones that were back there. I mean, and they try to push you away, and they don't have anywhere to cover it. If we all leave, who's gonna do the health care?
Hundreds of thousands of protesters have swarmed Venezuela's streets in recent weeks, calling for Maduro to step down. David Valania was shot by Venezuelan police during a protest in Caracas on Thursday. He was 22 years old and a medical student.
When I look at that and I remember how it was in my country, even when it was good, people don't know what they have in their hands. Even when you can't afford a good insurance, there is a mesh. They're not gonna let you die. They're not gonna let you lose your health because of that. No matter which hospital, it just doesn't matter. In Venezuela, I mean, watching them just waiting 3 months to get gauze, gloves, so the surgeon can do the surgery, and then getting the chemotherapy drugs and waiting months and sometimes don't. I mean, and we know we have to give you these drugs, but this is the only one you can get now, maybe for the next 6 months. Trying to export drugs from other countries just so you can have it. I mean, that doesn't happen here. No, you know, it just doesn't.
You always find a way. They can give you patient assistance because you don't have, you know, you can go through the system and find, you know, the way to get some patient assistance and how to support that.
And there are flaws,
it's hard,
and things can get better. They can also get worse. But I can say that people here in this country get healthcare.
Taken care.
Get taken care of.
Home care, home health, nothing.
Nursing homes,
they were
rehab,
living,
I mean,
they were alone. There was no health support to that patient. And then if they need medication, who would give it the medication? Who would buy the medication? Nobody. They were like pushed away to die without medical treatment. Then I know they will not happen here. I know my patients, they will be taken care. They are being taken care. Of course, sometimes copay, medication, insurance is you know, the deductible is high, it's complicated, it's not easy, but they will be taken care of.
With all the critics here, even in the smallest hospital, in the smallest part of the country, you'll find anything and everything you need to take care of a patient. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Here, yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's cool.
And
our hope is for our people in Venezuela is to go back to freedom, to go back to being able to elect and to change the laws the way they want it, and to stop corruption somehow, and eventually come out of that mess that socialism created over there.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is using the false pretext of this right-wing extremism to baselessly smear her GOP colleagues.
We will probably need a supplemental for more security for members when the enemy is within the House of Representatives.
What exactly did you mean when you said that the enemy is within? What exactly did you
It
mean
means
by
that we have members of Congress who want to bring guns on the floor and have threatened violence on other members of Congress.
Unifying the country around what? Erroneous fears that their conservative neighbors are just waiting for a signal to begin a violent uprising? Of course, like Biden's DHS, Pelosi has zero evidence that any of her colleagues are plotting to take out House Democrats. She knows she's lying.
We never want to see that again, that your rights to freedom get taken away, and the ability to be able to change things, whether you like it or not like it, that finishes because of the cup of a government just wants to stay in power.
Yeah. We did this one time. We don't want to do it again. You know.
Can't go through that again.
We came here, and this is an amazing country. Hopefully, stay amazing as it is.
So, how socialism starts? There's always in my opinion, there is a change in people looking for a change, especially people that doesn't know any better, haven't seen anything in the past, and there's promises or things being easier, don't have to work for it. And everything comes with a price, and I think it starts very subtle, very gradually, and probably you see benefits at the beginning, first few years, and then, like I said, it comes with a price. Sooner or later, you start losing stuff, and might be caps in salary, might be you lose your freedom to speech, you may not be able to get what you want to get. Go to the supermarket, you want to buy something that you need, but say, well, you're not allowed to buy two, you just need one. I remember when I was growing in Venezuela, we always talk about the government cannot do that. They're not going to, that's just rumors. A couple of years later, it was already a done deal. And we kept saying, there's no way that's going to happen. And a couple of years later, it was a done deal, you know. And your rights just went away and went away. So, to me, they killed your dreams. There's no potential dreaming. Just go through life.
From the #1 station, this is a story about love. A love story. Music is love, and love is music. Yeah. Sing the song, brother, sing the song. Sing the song, you could never be wrong. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been waiting for a sign. Do you hear that? Now I'm dancing to your vibe. I'm holding it forever, like a treasure from the tree, right from the tree. My body ain't confused no more. Do you hear that? I'm looking at the sky, see the spark and singing.
It's hard. For me, you know, I don't want to be in the middle of his decision, neither his parents' decision, then I know he's a good kid, very smart, is willing to work hard for his dream. I know if he stay here, he's going to succeed. I know there's a way for him to stay. We can, and we told him, we can help you. You can live with us until you need. It's no problem. We can help you. We can provide. We can help you to complete your dream. When you're independent, you can move on and continue. But I know he will. He can. If he decides to stay, he most likely maybe need us to help you a little bit. Then this country will give everything he needs. He will be able to find a job, continue studying, become independent. I know it's possible. We came here with a student visa, then we changed to a different type of visa, like exchange student visa, then a working visa. Then we did all these steps, and then I know it was hard. We had to find a lawyer, and then it's paper, and we had to look for papers. It was stressful. Yeah, and I'm saying it was not stressful. We have a moment we have money, and then we had to find a way to get money because we're not allowed to work, and all the stuff was very stressful. But we did it, and was possible. It's to say it's not possible. It is possible. But I cannot put in his mind, neither his parents' mind, what we went through. It's hard for them to understand that it's possible.
Guillermo is a nice person. He come to here because in his country it's difficult the life, and especially for the younger person. It's a good change for him because he relaxed here. He tried to find another opportunity. He tried to find friends and enjoy the life like a teenager, because in our country that is impossible. I don't know what happened in the future. He will go to the college, or he find an opportunity. But in my country, it's very difficult. I can sit here, look my kids, see who coming, who is sitting in close to me, what happened with the another person. That is impossible. Visit some park now, but here they can play. I am talk with the person and relax. That's it. The simple life. That is what I try to enjoy with my kids. But if he come back to Venezuela, I pray to God he feel okay, because it's hard. It's so hard when somebody come back to Venezuela, because it's a difficult life. It's for him, he lived here like 6 months, and he have friends. He enjoyed the life, and now he come back to Venezuela. It's totally different. But that's it, the decision for his family.
We know that Venezuela is worse every day. But what he can do? He's very confused now because all the family there. He's living with us, and until now it's a beautiful experience for him. Beautiful country, beautiful things. It's really, really every day. You never imagine what is gonna, that you are living the worst thing. No, tomorrow is worse. Unbelievable. No gasoline, no, the pandemic. After that, no electricity, no water. Unbelievable. I have to give some advices. I say, please stay here. Stay here.
The thing I most like about staying in the United States is the freedom of you have, and everyone respect your point of the things. For example, you can be socialist, you can be Republican, you can be democratic, and anyone is going to say you cannot be that. There is a lot. The freedom here in the United States is a real freedom. it's a free country.
There was no increase in production. There was nothing. It was a complete failure of socialism, and it tells you right there. Too much power in the hands of few people and no free thinking. And to think that the United States was to blame for that, it's absurd. You know, they over there in Venezuela, they keep calling the economic war. What economic war? You had so much money, you didn't know what to do with it. You got to blame somebody else. And the next big neighbor that you need to blame is the United States. It's their fault, it's the economic war. These sanctions didn't come along until way advanced in our crisis over there. So I think whoever thinks that the United States sanctions make this crisis in Venezuela happen, it's being misinformed. Okay, I left my country in 2001, and already back then there was problems. You know, there was a huge problem. Our civil rights was being taken away little by little, and these sanctions didn't come along for a few years ago. So I think that's completely misinformed to think that the sanctions and an economic war, how they call it in Venezuela government, is what caused the crisis in Venezuela.
I love to debate people about socialism. They absolutely have no idea what it is. We escaped communism, socialism in 1985 through Hungary, Yugoslavia to Italy. We waited for 11 months in a refugee camp for the paperwork to be done, and after paperwork was done, we came to the United States legally. Government in Czechoslovakia was socialist communist government that oppressed people. It's a lie. Socialism is nothing but a lie. It's a very few people stealing everything from the population, and they basically keep them barely alive. Well, my rights didn't come from government. My rights come from God, and they are God-given rights. And our Declaration of Independence very clearly states it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, with inalienable rights, among those are life, liberty, and property, actually, that was changed to pursuing happiness. See, the contract law is very important. That's something that socialists never will uphold and they never understand. If I have a contract with you for Cadillac and I deliver Yugo to you, you're not going to be happy. See, I want my freedom. There is a contract between man and the government, and that's called Constitution. And Constitution is base of our republic.
If you have a place like Google or Twitter or Facebook, and these places are running around and they're hiring entire floors of these diversity hires who are screaming how much they care about somebody's sexual orientation or their skin color or their gender beds, then they get to go around telling everybody how great they are because they've employed all of these people. Meanwhile, if you're trying to build up a competitor to YouTube or Google or Twitter or Facebook, and you're doing this in your garage, you don't have the opportunity to run around and hire a division of these people so you can use them as political currency on this market of social media. And so these companies like Google and Facebook, they don't give a shit about socialism. What they care about is strangling their competition.
In fact, taking these safety measures for your protection. Google took Parler out of the Play Store, followed by Apple taking Parler out of the App Store, and then Amazon, who supplies the servers that Parler uses, kicked Parler off its servers. They took Parler off the internet. To justify its decision, Apple declared, Parler is in fact responsible for all user-generated content on its service. Now this runs contrary to the same Section 230 that says a platform is not responsible for the content generated by its users. The same Section 230 that protects Twitter and Facebook. But luckily Apple slammed its $1 trillion judicial hammer down to inform the public of the new law. Parler is responsible for the content generated by its users, while Facebook and Twitter are not. It'd also be spectacular of you not to realize that these companies are monopolies, and monopolies are illegal because they're not monopolies. Like, What are you kidding me? They're so not monopolies that 35 states have filed antitrust lawsuits against Google. Facebook has had 48 states file antitrust lawsuits against them. Apple also currently has antitrust lawsuits filed against it. And Amazon is being charged by the European Union with an antitrust lawsuit. And that's nothing. I mean, these suits allege these companies are currently operating illegally, but like, that's crazy because they're not. Because they save the public from illegal activity happening on Parler. So, like, how could they be operating illegally? Like, they wouldn't accuse someone of doing something that they themselves are doing, but only much worse. They wouldn't do that. However, a question raised by the public. Is it a monopoly when the monopolies of Twitter, Facebook, Google, Apple, and Amazon band together to form one enormous monopoly that's capable of making anything happen on planet Earth that they want? Answer: no, that's not a monopoly either.
This application as a kind of safe space for freedom of speech, did you ever imagine that Amazon Web Services could or would shut you down in an instant?
Well, we were #1 on the App Store. We had 7 million, almost 7 million unique people on the app that day. And we get a notice, you're in violation of our terms, one after another. But we found out first, in some cases, not from the companies, but from BuzzFeed. We didn't get a notice from Google. We read it online in the news first. And that is shocking. And then after they set that example, we get an email after email. It's almost like you were just waiting. Who's going to be next? Dumping us. Everybody. The last thing we have right now is email, and I bet you within 24 hours our email will be shut off too.
From the progressive era until yesterday was at the center of the Democratic Party's identity. We're against monopolies. When did that change and why?
Well, first of all, let's just be clear from the outset, as we're seeing now, once again, how dangerous these big tech monopolies are and how imperative it is that we break them up, that we actually bring about solutions to break up the power that they have amassed.
Mr. Trump lost his primary megaphone overnight when Twitter permanently shut down his personal account, breaking off his connection to nearly 90 million followers.
I never thought I would see in the United States of America, not just its regular citizens, I never thought I'd see that, but we see the president of the United States being censored. Yeah. That's crazy. What happened to white privilege? I mean, if they can do that to a white man, what can they do to my black ass? That's what I'm worried about.
So it's interesting that all of these multi-billion-dollar tech corporations that are clearly operating off of pure capitalism run around telling everybody how much they love socialism, but they don't love socialism. These idiots running these big, gigantic corporations, they don't give a shit about socialism. What they care about is maintaining their political dominance in this area, and by using socialism and pretending that they care about these collectivists, they're able to shut down any upcoming grassroots companies that threaten their power monopoly. BLM and Antifa are 21st century equivalents of the brown shirts that were operating in Nazi Germany. And their entire intent is to shut down any political discourse that they disagree with, or more importantly, the powers that be that let them openly operate and tear down these societies. Anything that goes against those people and the moneymakers behind them, that type of political discourse will be silenced by those people. There's Antifa and there's BLM setting it on fire for us, right in the background. The American dream is alive and well in this country. For anybody who's willing to get up every day and go to work and be responsible for their own actions, be responsible for their character, be reliant and dependable, the American dream is alive and well. But there's a group of people out there who hate the American dream, and they want to foster and raise up in a generation out there a bunch of weak-minded idiots. And so they pump them full of this nonsense that you can't get ahead in this country.
I am black, I'm not oppressed. I am free.
That's good for you. That's an individual person. What about a systemic issue?
Where? I am black. I've always wanted to be. I have I do what I want. You have the skills. This is a country where you have the skills. You want to do what you want. You do it. Stop forcing on people to accept that they're oppressed. They are not. I am not oppressed. I am black. Stop making people accept that they're oppressed. You're forcing a rhetoric into your minds, which is not true.
When they run into any obstacle out there, they fall down onto the ground, they curl up into a little ball, into a fetal position, start crying themselves to sleep. These people have been told everything that is difficult in their life is because somebody else is oppressing them. And then they give them this big, large banner of things to be oppressed on. That banner keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger for a reason. It's to keep all of these soft-headed morons lazy and in their basement. It's to make them completely dependent on a government. And you don't want to be completely dependent on a government. Take a look at all these other countries below us where they've run their people into the same exact situation. Those people ain't got no food. They're running around hunting animals in the zoo looking for something to eat. Those people are digging through dumpsters for food. You want to end up like that? You end up like that when you're completely dependent upon a government. None of these people in any of these socialist-run countries build anything, they just take. But there becomes a point of time where you can't take anymore because all the productive members have fled. They've gotten into rafts and they've gone all the way across the ocean and they land in Florida. They flee these shitholes for a reason. Everybody who doesn't toe the line is going to end up on the list, and you can already see what direction this is going in because you're not allowed to say shit on any of these platforms that goes against any of this hyper-communist ideology that these idiots are running around pushing. They said, well, we're not pushing communism, we're pushing socialism. That. Socialism is the road to communism. Everybody knows the name of this game, and the name of the game is mass graves at the end. Big, gigantic corporations facilitating everybody's information, keeping lists on everybody, turning people off. They already shutting people off on all of these platforms. You say the wrong thing on Twitter, you say the wrong thing on YouTube, you say the wrong thing on Facebook, goodbye. There goes your access to billions and billions and billions of people. Now, they ain't doing that because they love you. They're doing that because they want power and they want control. And only assholes want power and control. People thought George Orwell was crazy. Television screens that would spy on us, television screens that would talk to us. No, that dude was a genius. He could see into the future, but he didn't see hard enough apparently because this stuff is prolific. 1984 was written as a warning, not an instruction manual, you idiots. He was telling everybody that these people would be engaging in doublespeak. Look around. You have all of these people who are running this country. They'll say one thing on Monday, the complete opposite on Tuesday. There's your doublespeak. You got records being nuked off the internet left and right. Oh, 2 million people might die from Wu flu. Find out later. No, it's only 1 million. No, it's 200 people, 200,000. Every other day, these numbers are switching back and forth, and then all of these records disappear. You punch them into the Google search engine, they never come back up. There's your doublespeak. There's your memory hole. China is using the Silicon Soy Valley assholes to be a foothold of communism in this country. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past.
Hunter Biden's story was true, okay? We now know it was true. And the typical corporate media outlets, they just chose to ignore it. Obviously, they wanted to beat Trump. They had a view on the election. They didn't want to give it any air. So we rely on social media to go around that, not let corporate legacy media outlets control the discourse and let us speak. So you had the New York Post to run it, and you couldn't get any traction. You couldn't get any reach on it because big tech put their thumb on the scale. So that was true. What they said at the time, oh, it's a conspiracy, or it's based on hacked information. Are you kidding me? You're trying to tell me if there was hacked information that could damage me, you guys wouldn't print it? Give me a break. You can whiz on my leg, but don't tell me it's raining. You have a business owner that may rely on some of these tools to do small business. If they engage in wrongthink or they go to the wrong political event, then all of a sudden they can act in concert and just take you off. You need to have protection against that.
For my kids, my children, I want them to be happy, to live in a place where they give you opportunity, where they have health. Most important, I want them to be healthy, happy. They provide education, where they can make a decision and be free for whatever they want to do. Well, Guillermo, he's going back to Venezuela. I think he decided to go back to his family, friend, and his culture. Though he was thinking about staying, his best option now is to go back to Venezuela. Because maybe he needs to be back. Venezuela needs young people to help her to rebuild Venezuela. Then He's from Venezuela. He grew in Venezuela. Have all his family, his friends, and then he maybe want to work hard and try to, become the best he can in Venezuela. He been living with us for all these months, and he like the freedom here. You can talk, you can have so much opportunity. You can go out and don't be scared that something's going to happen to you. Don't be scared that you don't have the money to buy the essential, the grocery, the milk, the bread, things like that. You will find what you need, the basic thing for living. Then he learned that from here. I think he won that, and he is afraid about he's not going to have that when he go back to Venezuela. Somebody has to be there to fight for that, and he said to me, well, I get used to live without basic things, and then I'll go back there, and then I know I'm going to miss what I have here, but maybe it helped me to fight for what I want. I don't want to let him go, but he will go back to his family and friends and fight for something, and hopefully we get freedom in Venezuela one day. My husband and me say, we will help him here or wherever he wants to go. He wants to go back to Venezuela, and then he decides to go to Europe, and he needs help. We always go to the point. He's like part of our family now. He's just an amazing boy. And we will help him anywhere he goes, any decision he makes.
In all these years, it's the same. All the problem with the government and the people of the government who don't make the right decisions for the good of the country. They only make the right decision for them, and they are selfish, and they don't think in the poor people or in the people who's dying because they don't have food or they don't have hospitals or medicaments for themselves. The best for me, of course, is stay here in America and study in a college here and all of that, but the problem is not the best for my family. I have 2 younger brothers, and I want to share with them the same experience I have here. If I come here, all the money of my family will spend on me, and that will be a kind of selfish for me. I think it's not the best for my family. All my friends are against the government. We grow up with the same idea with the family. When you have to work to get what you want, you have to work hard, you have to study, you have to do everything to get a good life, get good things, get what you want, what you need. We don't like that kind of socialism. We like the United States, for example. We really like the United States government. We are against the communism and the socialism. We think it's one of the worst things in a country. Well, I called my mom on the phone to talk about my decision, and of course she was really happy because she wanted me to go back. But she told me, like, son, I'm sorry, we cannot pay for you all the college in another country. I know it's hard, but we cannot do it because we don't have enough money, and you have 2 younger brothers. And well, I understand my mom and my dad because they want to make the same for me, for my 2 brothers. It's not fair if I stay in the United States and study here and everything here, and my brothers cannot come here to make at least 1 year. About my experience here in the United States with my uncle, the Figueroas, I really enjoyed every moment. They helped me with a lot of things. They helped me to understand the different culture of this society. It's really different than Venezuela, but I really like it. I enjoy it every moment. It was a really interesting experience. I made new friends, new American friends. I knew a lot of people, and well, I hope see you everyone when I come back here to the United States.